Alrighty, welcome back. I think in the other video, I called this a video that we were watching. It is a story, and while you're listening to the story, I want you to be thinking about the terms that we just talked about. And I'm going to stop it a couple of times so that way it gives you a chance to think, and I'm going to kind of throw some things out there for you to think about. The first thing that I want you to think about while we listen to the beginning of the story is, what is the community problem? So while we're listening, I want you to be thinking about, what is the community problem?
Old Henry by Jane W. Bloss. The story begins when a stranger appears and moves into a house that was vacant for years. No one thought he meant to stay. The house was drafty, dark and grey, and more than 7 years had passed since anyone had lived there last. He meant to stay, he had no doubt. It suited him from inside out, and in its vast and dusty spaces, all the things he had found places. That Henry. The neighbours watched him moving in and promised each other he'd soon begin to fix things up a bit. He did not think of it. With money enough to pay the rent, his books, birds and cooking pots, he was content, and never did notice, or else didn't care, that people whispered everywhere, "That place is a disgrace." At least, they remarked, you would think that he could show a little respect for the neighbourhood. That place is a disgrace. At last they decided to form a committee and went to him saying, "We are proud of our city. If you'd only help out, think how good it would look." "Excuse me," he bowed and went back to his book. That Henry.
Okay, what is the community problem? The community felt that Henry was not doing what? He's not taking care of his property, right? Mowing his grass, that is something that you have to do. If you live in a city like Jackson, I know for certain that if your grass gets so tall, you can get a ticket for not taking care of your property. So you have to take care of your property. You have to maintain your house for your safety, as well as the safety of your neighbors and people who might be walking along the street too. So if maybe like your windows are falling out, or your siding's falling off, or something's starting to crumble, you have to take care of your house and make sure that it's safe for you to live in, so that way you stay warm or cool depending on what season it is here. But also, it keeps you protected. If you don't have windows, things can easily get into your house. If things are starting to crumple, things can also get in, because that gives them ways to get in. But that can affect your neighbors if it goes onto their property or hits their house. And then the same way, it can affect people who are walking across the sidewalks, because it might hurt them too. So we want to make sure that we take care of our property and keep it nice and safe for everyone. So that is the community problem, is that Henry is not taking care of his property. Now, I want you to listen to the next part of the story, but I want you to be listening for how the community tries to help solve the problem. They're not just saying, "Hey, this is what you got to do." They are also trying to help. So I want you to listen to ways that they help try.
Then they fined him fines, they threatened jail, they wrote him long letters and sent them by mail. Dear Henry. Still the hollyhocks wilted, unwatered, unkept. The gatepost stayed crooked, the walk stayed unswept, and things went on as they'd begun, and he angered his neighbours one by one. Can't we make him sweep his walks? No, there's nothing we can do. You nasty Polly, shoo, bird, shoo. So unfriendly, never talks. On a day in November, they sought the advice of the mayor, who suggested being nice. Being nice? Please try it twice. But when two of the ladies baked him a pie, he said, I'm not hungry, no thank you, goodbye. And when three of the men said they'd shovel his snow, he quickly said, no. We told you so. Now Henry too had had his fill. The night he grumbled, I never will live like the rest of them, neat and the same. I am sorry I came. Then he packed some things in shopping bags and tied the rest in 3 old rags. He didn't make plans, he just left a short note, hastily written, gone to Dakota. He taped it to the big front door, and no one lived there anymore.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right here for just a second. What? So, I realized that maybe I don't know. How did the community try to help Henry? What are some things that they did? Some of it was nice. Some of it was a little more stern, right? So they tried being nice by baking a pie, and shoveling for him, right? And then there were things that, okay, that didn't work, so let's be a little more strict, by being fined. And like I said, that really does happen. I'm not so sure about the rules in Brooklyn, but I know in Jackson that does happen. And I'm sure that Brooklyn has some sort of rules too. And they threatened to put Henry in jail. So, what do you like about the solution? If Henry got fined and he pays his fine, what do you like about that solution? Is there a problem with the solution? If Henry gets fined and he pays his fines, perfect. However, if you get fined and you pay your fines, that's really all you have to do. With a fine, like you have to pay your fine. But what if he just pays his fine but doesn't clean up his house, which was the reason for the fine in the first place? Does this solution balance Henry's rights and the common good? Okay. What happened if he gets put in jail? How does that solve the problem? If he's in jail, is anyone at the house to fix it up? No. And I don't know who's to say what he thinks about while he's there, if he changes and maybe says, yeah, I'm going to fix it up. I'm not sure. But the solution that he chose to take was to leave. And how do you feel about that solution? What do you think the problem with that solution is? Again, he's left. So there's the house. Who's going to take care of it? Another problem to that solution is, where is he going to go? Where is he going to stay? Does that balance his rights and the common good rights? It was his property and he did own the house. But then we have to think about the common good, which is it safe for people to go inside? Is it safe for him to live inside? Is it safe to walk by? But also, does it look okay? Like the grass being cut, the whatever right here is falling apart. Okay, so let's finish the video and let's think.
His daylilies bloomed, his flocks grew tall. They picked his apples in the fall. They picked his apples now and then. Someone would ask, remember when? Remember when? Remember when? Later still in winter's snow, they asked one another, where did he go? Will he come again? His house looks so empty, so dark in the night, and having him gone doesn't make us more right. That Henry. Maybe some other time we'd get along, not thinking that somebody has to be wrong, and we don't have to make such a terrible fuss because everyone isn't exactly like us. Meanwhile, old Henry, to his great surprise, was missing the neighbours who'd brought him the pies. In spite of their nagging, he really did care for them in their street, so he wrote to the mayor. Dear Mr. Mayor, I'm finding it hard to be far from my house and my tree and my yard. If I mended the gate and I shoveled the snow, would they not scold my birds? Could I let my grass grow? Please write and tell me the answers, so then we can all get together. Sincerely yours, Henry.
All right. This video time that I have right now is about to end. So I'm going to upload this, and then I promise the very last thing that you have to watch. I will post right underneath this link, and it will be quick when you come back, okay?